Yo, this is Beanie here, multi-instrumentalist from London. And today I've got the amazing pleasure of interviewing the incredible Skin and Nova Twins. This is for National Album Day in conjunction with BPI and Black Story. So welcome, guys. Just want to congratulate both of you guys for amazing output of music that you've been doing lately. Parachutes and Butterflies is incredible. And of course, the brand new Skunk Anansie album. It's been a while since your last release, and it's amazing to see the band come back so strong. As it's National Album Day, I thought we'd go straight into asking you guys some questions about some of your inspirations musically. So can you just name a few inspirations that you've had with the making of your last kind of records?
I mean, I'm probably the same as you guys. Like, there isn't one album or one artist that kind of influences me. I think I see myself as a bit of a giant vat of ideas, and I just listen to so much music because I have a radio show as well. I just listen to a lot of things, and it's more to kind of get the feel of what's interesting, what people are liking, what feels special, what the vibe is, rather than just repeating what Skunk Anansie have done. I think when you've been a band for 32 years, it's very easy to fall into the traps of like, oh, let's just do what we've always done because that's made us very successful. But there's lots of really interesting bands that I love. Of course, the Nova Twins are fantastic. We've loved them from the start. Really into Upcut at the moment, Black Alt Era. There's Low, I think, as well. I really love them. So there's a lot of really interesting new bands. I think for me, it feels like this is a brand new wave and a brand new era of music being played by Black and brown people. So I feel like I'm influenced by all of it at the same time as when you go into record a record, you're very much aware of that. So you try not to kind of have any heavy influences coming straight into your spot. I think that's the way to do it. It's like suck it all in, but don't copy it.
How about yourself, guys?
Yeah, we totally relate to that as well. We never have a pinpoint influence. We've always been influenced by so many different things growing up. And we always say, being mixed race women, we've always had to blend genres and cultures and everything naturally growing up. So when people are like, well, how come you blend so many different genres together? We don't really see it that way. It's just kind of like how we are, which is really fun, and we absolutely love it.
We're quite I think we're quite nostalgic with our music listening as well. Like sometimes we end up listening to the same album all the time, the same old favorite albums.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to especially when you're on tour a lot, you don't actually want to listen to loads of music. When you unwind, you're like, no more sound, no more sound. Right. After this last record, after our last tour, we had to go straight into writing. So it was a little bit quite sensitive. But then obviously you kind of sometimes you have to force yourself and look outwards because you just want to look inwards after a tour, or we find anyway. Okay. So yeah, there's loads of great music, and again, like Skid was saying, it's kind of just all there, this universal sound coming right and center,
spinning around.
Yeah, and you subliminally probably take things in like a sponge, but at the same time, I think with both our bands, we're kind of doing something that is kind of quite a personal sound. Do you know what I mean? It's not like we want to, it's like Arctic Monkeys or the next. We're not trying to do that. So
and I think you raised two really interesting points there. Number one is we grow up in a white country with white culture, so you're going to hear the Stones, you're going to hear the Beatles, whether you like it or not, and then you have to go out and search for the sounds and bands that you really like. So I think that being influenced by what's right in front of your face, listen to the radio, all these bands have been played over and over and over again for the last 40 years, you can't really miss that. And then I think I slightly lost my train of thought, but you said something really interesting at the end, which really sparks a thought. What was it again?
Our sounds personal to us.
Oh yeah. Well, also you just the point about that, which I thought was really interesting, is that we also don't have the liberty of just repeating ourselves. When we come out, we have to be fresh, brand new. We have to blow people away when you're kind of black and brown and doing punk or rock music or anything like that. We don't have the liberty of being average and looking average and being normal. Do you know what I mean? We don't. That's a real privilege. Yeah, that's a real privilege. We have to be 10 times better than everyone else. We have to literally shock out and be like, wow, look at us, won't be amazing. And you go, I remember I go to so many festivals and literally I see the same band 10 times on, you know, same lineup, same look, same this, you know. Now lots of bands look like Wolf Alice or look like Wet Leg or something like that, you know, and there's a lot of repetition going on. And I think with us, you know, one thing you see about black and brown bands is they do not repeat. So we're nothing like Block Party. Nova Twins are nothing like Skunk Anansie. Black Hole Era are nothing like Nova Twins. You know what I mean? It's like we can't afford the privilege of just doing what everybody else does. We have to really stand out and be as good as we can be and be very individual sounding. Otherwise, people just say, oh, yeah, they're just like Grace Jones.
Mm-hmm. Do you, speaking of those kind of inspiring kind of artists, that kind of groundbreaking aspect, do you remember the first rock album that you purchased? The thing that kind of made you hear something in a genre of music that excited you? I'd like to ask both of you guys that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was Betty Davis. And that was one of the first rock albums kind of that I heard, you know, that I mean, if I'm going back, it would have been the White Album by the Beatles, really, because my dad used to play that in between reggae and more reggae. But I mean, I think for me, one of the discoveries was Betty Davis, you know, of course, Jimi Hendrix, because that was on the thing. But Betty Davis was one of the first records that I bought that I was like, whoa, this is dirty. It's got a lot of blackness to it. It's funky, but she ain't trying to be a soul singer. She's trying to do something very unique and very different with her voice. And that, you know, I didn't want to be Betty Davis, but I definitely loved the fact that she was doing something very individual and had a sound that I'm sure at the time sounded like no one else.
For sure. And how about you guys?
Yeah. So like, I guess the first introduction to rock would have been like, I feel like Betty Davis was definitely someone, because someone was like, you should check this out. There's, you know, and I don't know, they said there's something in there for me to find. And it was interesting. She was raucous and her vocals were basically like built-in distortion throughout. And like
he was a big freak.
Yeah. Just a slow, sludgy energy. Unbelievable.
Hard rock vocal, hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Just come on.
Yeah, I
love it. Oh,
then I understood Lenny Kravitz a lot more, because I'm like, oh, Lenny, did you steal that riff?
Yeah.
And then it was also Kick Out the Jams and New York Dolls albums. So MC5 and New York Dolls, they were the two, I remember, CDs that I had that I would play. Yeah.
I think for me, it was like more like alternative rock. Like I loved NERD. I just thought they were just like doing something so inventive and different and fresh. And I could just like relate to it so much. I think I was like 13 and I was like, what is this music? It's absolutely insane. That was kind of my way into like alternative music.
That's so cool. All right, so if we're moving on to the art of albums and making the albums and how it relates to you after the art has been created. So if we're thinking about The Painful Truth or Parasites and Butterflies, which was your third album, hit #1 in the rock charts, which is amazing. For starting off with you guys, Nova Twins, from the inception of the album to the writing of it, to then performing it and touring it, has the message of this album changed over time for you? The way you approach it, how you hear it back, how it's influenced other people, has any of that changed along the journey?
Yeah.
For you guys.
No, I think this album, we always say, was quite a hard album to write, because we came off the back of the Supernova album, like touring cycle and everything, and we were quite like mentally fried, and we went straight into writing Parasites and Butterflies in like the depths of UK winter. So it was just, we like to write like in our bedrooms, and it's totally dark outside 24/7, and we just get into our caves. And so we were writing it, and at first it was so like all the songs sounded like chaos. Could we say the album represents like the chaos between the bridge between beauty and chaos? And it was all chaos at first, and we had to look back and think, we're 6 songs in, but there's no light on this album, like at all. So then we had to decide, like, let's add some light into the album, because this isn't actually representing how we look at life, how we feel. It's
a moment in time.
It's a moment in time,
right?
But it's not an outer representative of like actually who we are. So then we wrote songs like Soprano and NOVA, and I think the whole journey of recording it, writing it, to touring it has, well, I won't want to speak for you as well, but completely healed me with this album as well. It's so nice actually just seeing people sing it back and hearing their messages with it, and as much torment as it might have been writing it, seeing how much good that it's actually done for other people.
You also it grows so much in the live aspect as well. So from when we write our demos, so basically it's all on Logic and like program drums, we do everything, and then we take all that to the studio and start, like, we take away, well, actually a lot of the program drums stay in there, but then we put the live drums to it, and then obviously we go for real amps, not like our like sound cards.
Yeah.
And then that's when it starts. It's really, so you hear a demo and you'll see a lot of it sounds very similar, but then suddenly the live aspect comes into it, and then that changes, and then we take it and bring our live drummer in, and then it starts to grow again. Do you know what I mean? And then the arrangements now of the songs, we write like new sections, like there'll be a whole new like chorus and middle eight somewhere, because the songs still evolve in the live process, because we're like, and if we had more time now, we'd probably re-record it and say, well, I wish we had this section in, it would have been sick.
Yeah.
We rewrite the songs whilst we're gigging. Even now, we're still like changing arrangements and things. Oh, maybe this would be really nice. And the songs just keep growing.
You'd have to do a live album.
Yeah, well, we are. We're gonna. They're so like, people keep saying, why don't you do a live album? So we're gonna do it for the forum.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, because I think, having done this for like 32 years, the thing about an album is that you write it and you capture something. You write a bunch of songs, and then there's these 10 songs, 12 songs that you think, oh, these are great. And there's something about those songs that kind of sparkle you or make you feel like alive, or like, yeah, you get the goosebumps. And then the trick is to hold on to that feeling all the way to the mastering, because it's kind of like at every level and every part of that writing, there's like a devil hanging over your back, ready to chop it up and mash up the song. We've had so many songs that have been so good, and then by the time they get to mastering, we're like, God, I really like this one when we wrote it, but there's something dead about this song that it doesn't work. But they're on the album, they're done, and then you kind of hate those ones forevermore, because you feel like there's something. It's like a song has like, it's like a seed growing, and you've got to grow it into a tree or a plant. But at any point, somebody can come in and prune it too much, or let it overgrow or whatever, and it can be completely ruined. So it's a very difficult thing writing an album. There's a lot of fun moments, but actually it's very hard and very difficult. It's not as fun as people, say or think it is, or have the impression of it, because you've got to drain yourself emotionally first, and then you've got to hold on to that drainage in those songs until the very last. Mastering. People have ruined our albums mastering, and certainly we've had a lot of albums ruined by mixing. And you have to do it again. We've had to, even at our level, redo and remix songs 2 or 3 times in the last 10 years. So it's a real art form that I think a lot of people don't understand that musicians are doing. And so that's the thing. It's fun when you're writing it, but when you're actually recording it, then it's like nose to the ground and it's hard work.
Again, on that sort of trail, do you find a huge difference when recording solo Skin stuff to Skunk Anansie stuff? For example, with Fake Chemical State to the last Skunk Anansie one. Is there a different process for that? Even lyrically, how you kind of approach your lyrics, or the process in the studio? How do you bounce off the other guys within the band?
Yeah, I mean, I can say that writing solo stuff and being a solo artist was hell on earth, to be honest.
Did you not like it?
No, I didn't like. I liked the music at the end of it, but I didn't. I really didn't. I didn't like being a solo artist. I like doing solo things. But I think one of the wonderful things I discovered about doing all that was like, yeah, I should be in Skunk Anansie. I should be in a band, really, because I like the kind of the joint people on the same level that are all thinking about things at the same time as you're all thinking about things. And you can bat off people, you can work with people. But when I was a solo artist, and no disrespect to solo artists, but you have to be really quite narcissistic in the way that you approach things, because it's all about you and you're only selling yourself. You're not selling the guitarist or a band or a sound, you're selling yourself and what you want to do. And so the level of self-belief that you have to have levels of narcissism, which is, I think, why some solo artists just lose it. And because I think in terms of writing the songs, it's the same, you know, except that it's just me personally I'm writing about. I don't have to think about what the rest of the band members write. But, you know, a lot of the time I'm writing from a personal viewpoint anyway. But musically, it's like everyone just agreed with me all the time. It's like when you're in a band, it's like you're on this equal level thing. But when you're a solo artist, you're like a triangle and you're the top. And everybody's just worried about keeping their positions. So everyone is literally just telling you what they think is going to make you happy, or what they think is going to make you, you know, keep their position or make their position stronger with you. So it turns into a hierarchy rather than a democracy. And so I really didn't enjoy the processes at all. And then there's just record companies just really, you know, excuse my French, fuck with you. And I think it was stronger when you're like 2 or 3 of you and there's more of you. I thought I'm not doing that again. You know, I love breaking out Skunk Anansie and doing solo things, doing different things, musically working. I DJ techno, I have a residency here in New York. So I like that side of working with dance people and techno people and electronic music. But I don't think if I do a solo album, it'd be very electronic based, and that would be a whole different game. I think the thing about National Album Day is it's really vitally important, because it just reminds people that singles are great, but when you're an artist, you're trying to tell a whole story. You know, you're not just trying to talk about your nose, you're talking about your whole body, you know what I mean? And I think that promoting an album is a really vital part of what we have to do as artists, because, you know, you talk about the beginning, middle of, and the end of what an artist has to say. And singles are important. And I know the record companies love singles because really that's the capitalist part of making an album. That's what sells the album. But without the whole album and the whole feel and this whole bunch of songs that really tell a much deeper story about the album. So that to me is why National Album Day is really kind of vital. And as an artist, and also for the punter, to just remember that, you know, vinyl is really important, you know, because that's where you get the richness of a sound. And, you know, I think that streaming feels so it's kind of like a fast, quick way to do it, but there's nothing like going into a record shop, talking to the people behind the cash point, whatever, and then recommending albums, and then, you know, go to listening booth and get into them. Because it's not really old school, it's new school. It's kind of like, I think where social media in the world has just got us thinking about things. Everything's got to be rushed. Everything's got to be quick with AI. Bam, 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 bam. I think it's nice to actually take a step back and get into who an artist is. What does it look like? What's the artwork like? What does he have to say on the album about what the artist has to say? Who got involved? Who produced it? All of those why questions that you just don't get answered when you stream. You know, so that's why I think this is just a great thing to do. And having Fake Chemical State on there was great, because that album said a lot. What do you guys think?
For us, I think an album, it didn't really come to life until we held our vinyl in our hand. Right. It was like, it's tangible now. You know, all these ideas that we had in our head that we kind of put through, obviously, like, you know, the desk and the amps and everything. But when we're making music, we're very much in the moment. So it's projecting from us. It's like being at a show where we can never watch ourselves back, ever. We'll never, ever experience that in a real way, in terms of like how an audience member does. We don't know what we sound like in that moment.
Yeah, you can't see it.
We can't see it. We don't know. We just get little sound bites here and there. So when you're holding that record and we get to reflect back all that, the chaos, the glory, the beauty of it, and the tears, everything that went into that, and all the processing, like the fucking ball ache that it is. It's so stressful, and it's like a very complex layered cake. But when you hold that record in your hand, you're like, we did it.
Yeah, we did it.
It's like a physical joy, isn't it? It's like a physical thing that it's like a sandwich or like a, it's like, here it is. It's in my hands.
It's all kept on here, and it sounds brilliant in terms of like obviously the quality, and it's something where it's like being a painter and just using like one color. Like we've got so many different ideas and so many different things we want to say and talk about, and that one song wouldn't do it, two songs wouldn't do it. And even when you get to the end of the album, there's still more. You're kind of like, there's more to say here, and it keeps on growing. So it's nice to be able to share that with an audience, that's especially for bands like ours, where like in rock community, where it's like you grow with your family. It's not like McDonald's where it's like onto the next artist. People stay with you, and we owe it to them because they're the people that keep our band like alive, and keep the rock music and alternative scene thriving. So, and when we were away for like 3 years. We was essentially touring over for 2, and then we went into writing and was doing more gigging and stuff, and we almost like guilty. Everyone's like, well, what's going on? Like, we haven't heard anything from you. It was like, you can't obviously rush art, but at the same time, it's like, you want to come back with one single or a 3-minute TikTok. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you need people to miss you though as well. You need people to miss you.
That's true too.
Also nice with albums that there's such like a timestamp of time. Like we've got 3 albums now. But looking back to like our debut, it's so different to where we are now, and just seeing like how the artwork's changed and how we've changed and evolved, and through the different eras. It's just, you'll never get that. It's like a diary entry of just like the different decades.
With Parasites and Butterflies, how many songs did you write in for the whole project that didn't make it onto the album?
People always ask us.
Are we talking lives?
We always write just like the album, because we're so picky in particular. We'll start an idea and we'll know if it isn't it, and we'll just be like, bin it, and we'll do another one and bin it. We don't like finish a song if we know we're not feeling it. We don't like just do it for the sake of it. So we're very just like definitive of what we want.
It's very gut. It's very gut. It's very gut. Like when we write, we chase a certain feeling. So if we wait, it might be that there's a part like this riff or something, or like a vocal line or whatever it is, and if that gives us a certain feeling, then it's like that is it. But if it's not giving that feeling, then it won't make it. So we chase that particular gut intuition where we're like, oh, there's something in that, like that part, like. And it might mean that, for instance, Monsters was one of the earliest songs we wrote, but we knew that there was something in this song. There was like a small, like there was the chorus basically, and a riff, and we kept changing the arrangement, and we changed it about 5 times, even to the point of the mix. We were like, cut out this bit, no, it's still not right. And even now, like, there probably is part of us that would love to remix
the live version as well.
The live version has a whole other bit to it. So it's like, but that was a song, for example, like, it's not us, like, we didn't write 5 songs. We wrote probably 5 different ideas for that one song to become the song. Do you know what I mean? So that's how we work.
So many ideas.
I'm gonna say it took us maybe 27 years to work out that that's the best way. Like, the way that you're doing it now is that's the best way. I mean, we used to write 60 songs for an album, 50 songs for an album, 40 songs for an album, and then we used to do this thing where we would write a whole bunch of songs and feel like we have to finish them, we have to get those songs to the end. And now when we started writing for The Painful Truth, I was like, you know what, we're gonna write a song, and if it's not great, and if I don't have a chorus and lyrics to it, we move on, because I would just end up with 20, 30 songs, which were just pieces of music and one word here and one word there, that I'm supposed to go home and finish by myself in no vibe with no other members of the band, So it just turned it now. So now I would say we do it the Nova Twins way. We just kind of write a few songs that really work, try them lots of different ways if they got something to it. So yeah, you guys worked that out a lot quicker than we did.
We still need to learn how to write more
like,
because we're slow.
Like, are we cop-outs? Can we only write like 11 songs?
That's quality over quantity. No, it's the best way.
I wanted to touch a little bit on sort of barriers within the music industry, whether it be women in rock music or women of color or people of color in general within the music industry. Between Novaton's amazing MOBO performance and earlier on, but a very benchmark performance that Skin had done with Skunk Anansie with Glastonbury, both very important for Black music in general. I think it really highlighted things that weren't necessarily seen within the culture, within what's termed as Black music, whatever, what people were used to kind of seeing. But between those two performances was quite a large gap. And I was wondering if you ever kind of questioned why that was and what has kind of changed for it to be as embraced as much in the mainstream, to have people that look like you guys, performing and getting a bigger audience than they have done, and in between that gap.
I think there's like magazines, like Black people on front cover magazines and everything else. There's this misconception that if a Black person is fronting something or Black person's on a cover, whatever, that cover's not going to sell as well, or the ticket sales are not going to be as big. And I think that that's a common misperception, which has only really just changed in the last 5 years, I would say. But certainly, it's not just a color thing, it's also a gender thing, that Absolutely. People think like, women don't sell as many tickets headlining as men do, for instance, and I think that those are the kind of capitalist attitude that people want. If they want to play safe, just get a white guy to be fronting it. And I think that that's, Skunk Anansie changed that in 1999, Stormy changed that, you've had different people being so absolutely huge that Black and brown that has actually, even there were, in that time, there's been artists that were absolutely massive, but they never got to headline festivals. And I was saying, Skunk Anansie's term, we headlined a lot more festivals that were just as big as Glastonbury in Europe, at the same time. It's like Glastonbury was one of the festivals that we headlined. There's a whole bunch of them that, I was probably the first Black person, fronting a band to headline them. So it just wasn't a story. It was kind of like, we're just going to not talk about that because we don't want to make that a message and switch people off, Right. So I think it's much more to do with an attitude to people who book these, that they actually have to recognize that, not just Black people buy Black music, and the fact that just because it's a Black and brown face on it doesn't mean it's less worthy or has less worth, or you have to pay them less, or anything is less. And I think that's the common misperception that has to change within the people that are actually booking these things. Because, we can force ourselves through, but we can only force ourselves through if people come with us. And, we can change the mentality if people come with us. Because a lot of the time it's kind of like, I don't want to talk too long about it, but a lot of the time it's kind of like, it's not my problem that you have an issue with Black and brown people. It's not my problem that you're homophobic or racist or sexist. It's not for me to change for what I'm doing. It's for you to change your attitude about what you're doing. So I never really took it on. That was my thing to change. Actually, it's just up to me to be as good as I possibly can, like any other artist. And it's up to you to change your mentality towards that. And it's because Skunk Anansie was selling so many records, millions of records, and we were so huge that Glastonbury in some ways it was just an obvious choice because we were massive in the whole of Europe, not just the UK. So yes, the ticket it sold out faster than all the rest of them, but it took somebody like Michael Eavis to go, actually, no, that's who we're going to have headline the Pyramid Stage. It takes that person making that choice for things to change.
We probably feel since your band, who has been next? It's still hard for those headliners to get to that spot, especially women of color. I remember when I first got introduced to rock and your band came up. And I remember I didn't think anything of it because we come from a background of the first music that come to us was R&B, hip hop. So it's Destiny's Child, Beyonce, all those type of artists.
Yeah.
So then when your band came up on my screen, and I really got into like Twisted, you know, and all those songs, Weep, and I was like, wow. But I never thought to myself, oh, like I didn't understand the magnitude of what you were doing, because I was like, you look like me, it doesn't matter. You know, like in terms of, I only started getting into a few rock bands, and then your band came up. I was like, great, you know. But then it wasn't just being in the industry. I was like, oh, there wasn't many. Like your band, like who else? What is there? Obviously, there's got Polystyrene, X-Ray Specs, in terms of bands that commercially broke through. That it just wasn't there. And obviously, when you're 16, you're naive to the industry. You don't think these are actually problems that artists are having. But then when you get into it, we were suddenly faced. We didn't know. We just thought, well, we're going to play rock music just like any other band. It's going to be fine, you know. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think like, I think the thing is that at first we try to be like all the other bands. But by the time I got to Skunk Anansie, I was like, I realized that actually what makes me interesting is I'm a black girl with, you know, baggy pants and little tops that fit a 4-year-old with his shaven head, and that's why people like the band. So all these things that you think that are going against you are the reasons why people love you. Like the real people, real musicians and people that are real fans love you. It's just the industry that kind of they're the ones that are like, oh yeah, this is going to be hard to sell, this is going to be hard to market, blah, blah, blah. But because a lot of the time they're just disconnected. They're connected to what they know sells, like a blonde girl or an indie boy with floppy hair. They're connected to that, but they're just not connected to what else sells and what else does well. So I think that what's wonderful about Nova Twins is that they are themselves. They are their authentic selves, and they're doing it in a radically interesting, vibrant way that people are picking up to. People love it, you know? And I think that's the wonderful thing about it, that the barriers are there, but the people can see through all of that and see an authentic band that's got their own story to tell, and the people love it. So sometimes the barriers are from the industry and not the people, but the people lift you above that because you do so well that the industry can't ignore you, you know?
But the gatekeepers are been told so many, like especially towards the beginning, we had to make our own path because people were like, we don't know where to put you. Like, we can't go on these rock playlists, we can't put you here, we can't do this. We were a bit like, why? We had a huge awakening when we first come into the industry. We didn't understand it. We just thought we were like wanting to be in a rock band. Like,
I think that's why we fought back against it as well, because we just look the way that we do. So we were like, we're going to look even louder.
Exactly. Emphasize it all.
Bigger clothes, we're going to get
in your face, people.
And even now, we can see some of those kind of gatekeepers who are like, it, like you said, it took a few brave people like Sophie Kay from Kerrang and Lara when she was in Radio 1 really like backed us and stuff like that. But it took these women to fight against other people to be like, hang on a minute, you're ignoring this band. Like, why? Like, they've done all this. Why? And, you know, but we still see people now still doing it, and people putting the foot out, because it's like, you'd rather, like, we always say, like, it's all right if you're like, it's hard for women, but there's a type of woman that might be, people feel that are more accessible, and it's usually like indie kind of flight, less like brazen as we are with our kind of music, you know, and it's like, that's okay. But when it comes to screaming and being a bit more gnarly, it feels like it's always a bit of a, like, let's keep them in that box, you know.
Even though like we're screaming and gnarly, but people would never say we're a riot girl. They'll just be like, oh, we're not part of that. No, we're not part of that either. Punk.
I mean, you know, you just have to make your own lane, you know. I always say to people, there's nothing like Skunk Anansie, and that's good. There's nothing like freaking Elvis, and that's good. There's nothing like, you know, so many people like Grace Jones. There's only been one Grace Jones, and it's like, I always say, if there's nobody else, just because there's nobody else like you, you can be the first. Just find that there's nobody else doing what you're doing. Just be the first.
We're all bands as well. Like, we feel like it takes always key people in the industry to lift us up, but also like bands lift each other up. Like, you lifted us up so much, as well as like Tom Morello, and when we toured with Prophets of Rage, and, you know, Jason from Fever and Bring Me, all these bands, Elton John, and artists just like lift up other artists, which is so important, and it's helped us so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of my job now at this point in my career. You know, my job now, part of it is to do what I'm doing and enjoying what I'm doing, but we're at a certain level now. And I think it's very important that an artist like me speaks about bands like Upcut and Nova Twins, Loathe, Black Hole Era, especially the British bands, these British bands, because it's kind of like, you know, I've got a voice, I've got a big old mouth, and people are listening to what we have to say. And we do. It is my joy to, as an elder Black rocker, to kind of lift up these bands. It's not okay to just, at this point in my career, just be talking about and thinking about yourself. So I think it's now a requirement of the job.
Thank you.
Yeah, legendary. What I was mentioning before, the making of Paranoid and Sunburn, Skunk Anansie album, one of my favorite albums. Very politically and racially charged lyrics, song titles, etc. Within that album, quite confronting. Was there a backlash within the industry, not the fan base, but within the industry, the label, etc., for you to water any of this kind of content down at all?
I mean, I think by the time Skunk Anansie came across, you know, I'd been in 2 or 3 bands, and all of the mistakes that I've made were in those bands, you know, and I see mistakes as really good things. So by the time Skunk Anansie came along, nobody would dare. They wouldn't dare try and tell me what I can and can't say in the lyrics. And I think that what happened was all of the labels were interested in us, but the ones that were really interested were the indie labels, because the indie labels were the ones that would just give you carte blanche to talk about what you want to talk about. Major labels at that time were, you know, they wanted to sign us, but they knew they couldn't control us, so it wasn't going to happen. But the indie labels at that point were huge, you know, Beggars Banquet, One Little Indian, which I think have changed their name, but they were big labels. One Little Indian had Björk, you know, and Chumbawamba, they have big bands. And they signed the bands because they liked the bands, and they would never try and walk you down or try and, you know, tell you what to do. I think there was one time an A&R guy came into the studio and he said, made one stupid sentence, and we just kicked him out. You know, he said, because it's like half the time those people are saying things because they feel like they need to say something, because they feel like they need to show their worth or why they're there or why they have that job. And most of the time, especially now, I just think A&R, that whole idea of A&R is kind of gone. You know, it's like what now A&R is to me is someone that helps and supports and nurtures a band. But in those days, A&R, they used to take a band, like somebody out of X Factor, let's say that's what X Factor started doing, but they would take a band or a person, whatever, and they would dress them, they would direct the music, they would get the songs for them, they would do every form, they would literally treat the artist like a blank page and get everything for them. And there were people who were really, really, really good at that, you know. Clive Davis did that with Whitney Houston. You know, he saw the talent, he saw whatever, and he did the rest. You know, he got the whole package of Whitney Houston together, you know, because he saw the talent. That just doesn't happen anymore because record companies will not sign an artist who don't have followers. And so you kind of were living in this world where, you know, I'm going to say what I have to say. And if you don't like that, you don't like that. You know, Skunk Anansie came ready-made with a feisty black girl as a lead singer that was very opinionated and had these political songs. And I had that because I'm from Brixton, you know, one of the most underfunded boroughs at the time in British history. You know, it's like no money was for Margaret Thatcher was going to little old Brixton. And so we had a lot of issues in Brixton, a lot of police trouble. We had a lot of, you know, we had 2 riots, 1981, 1985. So for me to talk about my experience, it had to be political because that was literally what was in front of my face and what I was feeling and dealing with. I mean, I had 3 black brothers. You know, police were always chasing them and doing things to them and trying to, you know, antagonize them. We had a real racial problem in Brixton with the police and police harassment and the sus law where they could just stop you on suspicion and strip you naked in the middle of the street. So there was a lot going on. And so for me to not be political would be for me to just be blinded about what's going on in front of my face and have nothing, you know, to talk about. I mean, it's like, we're just going to talk about love songs when you come from Brixton in the 80s. So it's just actually part of my DNA and part of my culture to talk about those things. And so there was no scope for anybody to be able to say to me, no, you can't do that. That just was not even hinted at the time. I mean, I think that if I was like a different type of artist and suddenly, you know, if I was Florence and the Machine and I suddenly wrote this political song, the label are going to have something to do with it. Or if I was Taylor Swift and I wrote this really deeply political song, you know, the label would be like, hold on a minute now, this is out of your remit. But for me, it was like, it's written all over the box, what's inside the box. So, you know, don't try and put the box in any other state or any other place. It was just too out front. And yeah, we got a lot of pushback from the industry, you know, but it was different times. You could be, you know, you're a rock band, so rock bands are quite feisty. So you could be quite forward thinking and still be on the radio and be a rock band and still be on the radio. It was quite different times.
This kind of leads me on to the last kind of group of questions here for both of you guys. The future of music and forward thinking music that both of you guys have really been part of. What responsibility do you feel that you guys have in order to kind of sustain this authenticity? And do you see yourselves part of that fight, the same fight together, kind of preserve this?
I mean, I'm going to just answer, I think this is a back and forth question in many ways, but I mean, I think it's really important for an artist to stay true to themselves. When you start as an artist trying to model the person society thinks you are, you know, because you're black or brown or gay, you know, gender, whatever. If you start kind of modeling what society wants you to be instead, you actually lose the authenticity between your music. I mean, our first job is to write songs about what we want to write about. And they can be political or they can completely not be political, because not all people, not all artists are really good at writing that kind of music. Some people can just write party songs. That's great. Some people can just write songs about, you know, being a road man. That's great. You know, it's like you should do what it's not on our shoulders to write songs about what is absolutely going on unless that comes through. Because the one thing that people do not need is another inauthentic song about a political thing. You know, nobody needs to hear those songs, and nobody, you know, that's not what I think we as artists do. I think you've got to stay true to who you are and what you want to write about. But I have a lot of art talk, you know, I'm going to put this over to you because I have a lot of things to say about the future of music. So, you know, you guys answer that and then we can go back and forth.
Such a big question. I think it's amazing to see so many new bands, so many bands still being able to continue in this climate, especially in the financial situation that the music industry is in, that affects artists and grassroots venues that are, you know, the fundamentals, is the foundation of every artist, and we need to come up through somewhere. So we've got that to think about, and it's an achievement that we can still go. And there's so many amazing, like the community is growing stronger because of it. I think we're coming together more and being a lot more like just aware. Like on our tour, we've got two amazing bands. Shady White, I'm not sure, Skin, if you've heard of her, but you should definitely check her out. Really amazing. Like jazz, grunge soul singer, black female, gorgeous, just yeah, incredible. So we've got them and Hot Wax are like a 3-piece. So we always very like on our tours, that's where we can bring people along, like introduce our crowds to like bands that we really believe in, and we make sure we pick bands that we just think are like, we just love. So that's things that we do, and obviously connecting. But in terms of the future, I think we're all doing what we can. We need other people to step up too. So we need, like, again, like this is the gatekeepers. We need people to actually be in those positions and know about music, and not just have a like this is what I'm into, I'm just into that. If you're like a music expert, then you should know about all genres and be very aware of it. You can't just be like, I only like this, you know. We're past that now. There's not like just one genre anymore. We're just mixing. It's like, it's so much more open, more than ever. There's so many more opportunities, but I think we just need to kind of, I don't know, like congregate, get together and just make it, you know, it's I mean, question.
I mean, I think there needs to be like a revolution within music and how music's actually organized and funded. Because I mean, I think everybody gets paid by the artist, you know. So I think there needs to be a real kind of radical musical revolution. And I think it's coming. I can smell it. In the same way I can smell a bit of a revolution in terms of the gatekeepers and the influencers who think they can tell musicians what they should and shouldn't be writing. And, you know, I think that revolution is coming as well. I think that has to benefit the artists and not just benefiting all these people making money out of us. Even ticket sales, I mean, everybody makes money, you know, and the artist makes a little bit at the end, and it shouldn't be like that.
Oh,
especially when you're going to put so much into the show.
we
To
just
They have nothing without us being creative. Without us being creative and making music and doing our outfits and doing all this stuff, they literally have nothing. So we give them all of us. We give them our heart, our look, all of our thing, and then they just take it and they give us a pound, you know, give us a pound back. It's ridiculous. I remember what it used to be like when you know, you could buy yourself a house, you could buy yourself a car, you could live quite nicely, you could live within the world of music, and it was this beautiful thing where everyone was just in music and that's all you needed to do. Now you have to do this, that, and the other and you still get a fifth of what you used to earn.
It's crazy. What is encouraging though, we're in Ireland right now, and we've found out that they've just had this scheme that pays musicians monthly, just how they do in France and in
amazing. See, it's coming.
Which is coming. So we're like hoping that, you know, the UK and other places pick up next, because you can take so much more risk. You don't have to think about how you're going to pay your bills when you're literally putting everything into trying to be in a band or start up your music career, because music is everywhere. The world won't live without music. So it's just crazy that this hasn't been a thing for so much longer.
And just like any other job, it's like when people get paid to be creative. So if you're gonna pitch for an advert, you're gonna get paid. You pitch for, you know, or like a movie or something, like you get paid to be creative. So there's companies, but for music, we don't get paid for that part. We spend the year being creative, writing it. We don't get paid for that time. We're just suddenly, that's downtime. So when we stop physically doing the gigs, we no money comes in unless you've got your fingers in other pies, as you just said. So it's like, why do we not get paid for being creative? Because we're still working. We're working. At the moment we start writing that album, we are working. You know, we're working 24/7, and we don't switch off. And every day a week to be able to get that end product and then to tour it, you know, and like you said, to get to the end of the tour, to be like what's left over. And the fact that Ireland are giving musicians, I think it's like £325 a week, which is fine. Like if you get to like, you know, £1,400, something like that, that's enough to pay your rent. And then only the bits, you're suddenly, that's the part where you can be creative, and then your gigging is the part that pays for the rest of it, you know. And it's like, we should look up to other countries. I mean, our government, we can't get into that conversation because that's a whole big conversation. But
yeah, but it's true. I mean, it's like, and I think that streaming has really lessened the quality of music. You know, it's like, I know, like from a DJ perspective, white labels are always better, because, you know, if you're gonna do a white label, you've got to go and get it pressed. You've got to get this master and whatever. But if it's just streaming, you can just fling it out there, you know. And so there's just so much more music, and I would say half of it is absolute rubbish and shouldn't be out there. And of course you've got the mafia and the bandits on there just doing fake music as well, you know, which they're trying to clamp down on. But I think that, you know, it's like, if you want us to make better quality music, I'm not saying there shouldn't be a struggle, because lots of great music comes out of a struggle. I'm just saying that, you know, we should get a bigger bit of the pie and make it a lot more fairer. I think the message for hope for me is, like, I can see so much great music out there that has a lot to say, that's really authentic. It's kind of like when things get a bit stale and a bit boring, there's always a bunch of kids that's just going to come out like Nova Twins and just smash it all to pieces and do their own thing. So I always have hope in creative people.
And we've got hope in the community in terms of like the people that we were talking about earlier that are holding everything up, like saving, like putting it back to the people who are actually the ones saving the grassroots venues that are in trouble, or like saving the bands who can't actually, like, you know, crowdfunding a gig or something like that. So the hope's also in the people as well. So and
the culture, and, you know, you got National Album Day, which is your album. So that gives me lots and lots of hope that people are recognizing such a great band. Well done.
Okay, guys, well, I want to thank you, Nova Twins and Skin, for some amazing insight into your album process and everything about what you guys do. You've both got extremely busy schedules, so you're awesome. Thanks for joining us. Shout out to BPI and National Album Day, of course, and Black Story. So thank you.